Okay, guys. I wanted to review some of the screenwriters that we've been reading because we don't really have time in class. So I'm going to share my screen and get this done with. I want to kind of go through, there's me teaching an MFA program. That was a funny time. I want to kind of go through who the screenwriters were for Shrek, Chinatown, Fargo, Lady Bird, and I think that's what we've read. Yeah. Oh, and Silence of the Lambs. Okay. Let me just start sharing this slideshow. Okay, so this is I put together all of this is from Wikipedia, and I'm gonna give you some extra like information based on like my notes and things that I have researched, but you can find most of this on Wikipedia, but I think I wanted to kind of do the research, the basic research for you, and kind of consolidate it into one PDF. So starting with Shrek, Shrek was a children's book by William Steig. William Steig was actually a cartoonist for the New Yorker. And if you know how everyone has the New Yorker bags? The New Yorker cartoons are sometimes like the main reason people would get the New Yorker. That's why I got the New Yorker along for the bags. But it's a little bit snobby, it's a little bit artistic, it's a little bit prestigious. But William Steig would make little cartoons like this. And myself, I wish I could hide. How do I hide self view? So Shrek was written in 1990 and it was a comedy fantasy picture book by William Steig about a monster who's gross, who leaves home to see the world and ends up marrying an ugly princess. So it's not quite the Shrek that we know, but this is the basis for it. This is the cover of the book. William Steig was a cartoonist at the New Yorker from 1930 to 1960s. He created over 1,600 cartoons and was dubbed the King of Cartoons. So this was illustrated by him. However, he intensely disliked creating advertisements and started writing children's books. Instead, at the age of 61, he was tired of doing advertising and drawing for it, and he was in his 80s when he wrote Shrek. Okay, so the Shrek franchise. So Steven Spielberg, we all know Steven Spielberg. He's very popular at this school. He purchased the rights for the book in 1991, which is a year later, and he wanted to produce a traditionally animated film based on the book, which would have been in 2D animation and was going to star Bill Murray as Shrek and Steve Martin as Donkey. 2D animation would look more like this or this. But DreamWorks, we know DreamWorks, they did like Flushed Away, they do a lot of, they're like the rival cartoon in a way to Disney, ended up purchasing the rights for the book for approximately 500,000 and putting it into archive development in 1995. So it took a few years. I mean active, not archive, active development. It took a few years to get the script going. Shrek was released on May 18th, 2001 in CGI, starring the voices of Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, and John Lithgow. The film was a critical and commercial success and even won the first ever Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. That's pretty incredible. It was followed by several other films, including the second Shrek, Shrek the Third, Shrek Forever After. The film was adapted also into a Broadway musical called the Shrek Musical in 2008. And to be quite honest with you, it looks pretty cool. I was looking at some of that. Okay. So there were a bunch of writers on the script, and if you look, I'm gonna go a few slides forward. That's a lot of slides forward. Okay, so so 4 people were listed on it, but there were actually, I believe, like 5 people who actually helped with the script. So, Elliot, Rossio, Stillman, and Schulman. or Schumann. So the people that are listed are people who helped with the script, but they wouldn't be considered the main writer. So the first one is Chris Miller. Chris Miller is an American voice actor, animated director, screenwriter, and storyboard artist employed by DreamWorks. He is most famous for directing Shrek the Third and Puss in Boots, for which he received his first Academy Award nomination, and for voicing Kowalski the penguin in the Madagascar film series. Sorry if I mispronounced that. I haven't seen Madagascar in a while. So he's about 55-ish. He's in his 50s. And you can see he's helped with Shrek the Third. These are his main ones, but he helped a little bit with Shrek, and that's how we see it here. I imagine he helped with like edits or any kind of feedback, but not much since his name is not on the script. Okay, let's see. Oops. Okay, Cody Cameron's another one. I don't think his name is on the script. He helped with Shrek and Shrek the Third. I'm not sure how much work he put in. I'm gonna have my face. You can see me giving expressions. I'm not sure how much work he put in. He probably did one of the passes. He probably looked at it. He might have added a few more jokes, but again, not enough where his name is on the script. So, he mostly has worked on Shrek. And he's an American voice actor, film director, and storyboard artist. He directed Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs too, which, to be honest, I don't think is great. He voiced many animated characters, including Pinocchio and the Three Little Pigs in the Shrek series and Mr. Weenie in the Open Season franchise. So it sounds like he's a little more visual. Maybe he did like kind of like a visual pass or something like that with the script, but again, he's not on it. Okay, I don't think this guy's on the script either. We can go back and check, but the last one I think that's not listed but did help is Conrad Vernon. He's from Texas. Let's go. He wrote Monsters versus Aliens, which I think is interesting. Mutant Pumpkins, which I have never heard of. Mutant Pumpkins from Outer Space. I want to watch this. And Shrek. But see, that's kind of lower on the totem pole here. So I think he probably just did some edits or something too, but not much. He was born in 1968. He's an American voice actor, director, writer, and storyboard artist, best known for his works on the DreamWorks animated film series Shrek, as well as other films such as Monsters vs. Aliens, Madagascar 3, yada yada. He also directed the adult animated film Sausage Party, which I will say with animation it's a little different. A lot of the animators or directors, because it might be very like influential in the script because it's so particular and you work so closely together. And I think there typically for live action wouldn't be as many writers. Okay, Stillman's the one his name is on the script. You can see he's mostly a screenwriter. The other ones were more like producers, directors, but this guy's more of a screenwriter. He's American. He wrote Planet 51, Gulliver's Travels, Shrek, Beavis, Butthead, Do America, and King of Dreams. I feel like Shrek was probably his best, as he does fairy tale parody, the Bible. And he was born in 1959. Oops. He worked for several TV shows like Beavis, Butthead, King of the Hill. I like King of the Hill. Doug and the Adventures of Pete and Pete. His first screen credits were on Joseph, King of Dreams, and his second on Shrek. He received his first BAFTA for co-writing the first Shrek. I think what I want to point out here is that it says his first screen credits. Like the other guys, you could work on the script but not get screen credit. So this is a big deal if you actually get your name on a script. That doesn't mean it's your first script though. Schulman was also on here. I couldn't find a whole lot of information on him. He is a screenwriter and producer. He did Shrek. He won the British Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay and was nominated an Oscar for Best Writing. Imagine he did a lot of the work. Elliot is born in California. He worked on Pirates of the Caribbean, as you can see, The Lone Rangers, Little Monsters. He also does fairy tale parody, and this is just interesting extra information. This is that we don't really need. I don't know why I put it on. And then this guy's on there too. He's in his 60s. He is from Michigan. You can see he wrote on similar ones as Elliot did, and they probably worked together on a bunch of these different things. He wrote films Aladdin, Shrek, and all 5 of the Pirates of the Caribbean series. He was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for Shrek and won the Annie Award for writing in a feature production, as well as the BAFTA Award for Best Adapted Screenplay for Shrek. And he also writes with Elliot a lot. You can see that their filmography is the same. Okay, and I wanted to show you this. Did I do one for Stillman? I did. Cool. So we went through all of them, and you can see this is just like where you see the screen credits on the what's called the title page. And look, if you're adapting something, it will always say based on the Wada Wada by the original author. Okay. I thought this was interesting. You can click on here and you can read an interview, and you can do it on the PDF. It's about Ted Elliott and I don't know, I'm gonna say Rossio, but I don't know his name, about how they write together, because they're writing partners oftentimes. But what I pulled from this that I really liked is when he said a lot of the way Terry and I work is what we called egoless arguing. If Terry has an idea, he says, here's the idea. And from that point on, there's no ownership of the idea. I'll make arguments for or against it, and he'll make arguments for or against. The idea has to prove itself to be correct. So that's kind of important. Yeah. What do I want to say? I feel like there's something I want to say. I think this is important for any type of like writer's room or workshop. You have to know how to like see an idea objectively, then as your own. Okay, lastly, I want to point out some differences I saw in the Shrek script versus the Shrek movie. I feel like Donkey was funny in the script, but I feel like if we had gotten a different type of voice actor, it wouldn't have done as well. The lines would have seemed a little awkward. It felt like it was written for the actor. I wouldn't have guessed the like a stature of like Lord Farquaad, or the way that they did the kind of mirror scene where the mirror is like showing all the different princesses, but in the movie it's kind of like a game show night, kind of showing off of the princesses. It's interesting how they probably knew similar of what they were going to animate and do, but when you read it on a page, it just shows how much the directors really took creative liberty with a lot of this, and I thought it was really cool. Okay. Okay, The Silence of the Lambs. This is one of the first scripts I ever read, and I think it's one of the best scripts I've ever read. I do need to read more scripts though. So this is the guy who wrote the original Silence of the Lamb novel. So another amazing screenplay that's an adaptation. Okay, it was a 1988 psychological horror novel by Thomas Harris, published in August 29th, 1988. It is a sequel to Harris's 1981 novel, The Red Dragon. Both novels feature the cannibalistic serial killer Dr. Hannibal Lecter, this time pitted against FBI Special Agent Clarice Starling. Its film adaptation, I always want to say adaptation, directed by Jonathan Demme, was released in 1991 to widespread critical acclaim and box office success. This is the guy that adapted Silence of the Lambs. A little scary. A little scary. Okay. So he was born in the 50s. He's a playwright and screenwriter, and you can kind of tell, I feel like the script is very like poetic, it's very literary in a sense. The way that it's written, to me, it felt more like a book than as if you look at Shrek. Shrek is mostly dialogue. But if you look at Silence of the Lambs, there's something very bookish and literary about it, just the action lines and the world building through the language, which we don't see in Shrek as much. So he's a playwright, screenwriter. He adapted the Thomas Harris novel, The Silence of the Lambs, into the film of the same name, and he won, again, Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay. And the Writers Guild of America Award. If you publish a certain number of like movies or direct to certain things or act in certain things, you're eligible to join this guild, which makes sure that you get paid a certain amount and that you also like there's fees you have to pay, but it's kind of like a union for writers, screenwriters. Let me check my time. Okay. He was born in North Carolina. Let's go south. He was educated at Yale College and Yale School of Drama, very smart boy, and has taught at each of them, which is kind of huge in a way. Like graduating is one thing, teaching at them is another. The Silence of the Lambs, you see, we already got the award, and it shows some other awards he got here, and his other scripts include ones that I have not actually heard of. Interesting to me. He also worked on Shrek 2. Okay, Chinatown. Chinatown is a script that I think is great, but also I find it hard to understand and read, and I find the movie hard to understand and read, even though I've seen it multiple times. But it does keep giving. Okay, Robert Towne, very well known. He wrote, basically he's part of the New Hollywood wave of filmmaking, known for his Academy Award. And New Hollywood, let me check that real quick. American New Wave or Hollywood Renaissance was a movement from the 1960s to 80s where a new generation of young filmmakers came to prominence. The film director rather than the studio took on an authorial role. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because it used to be the studio would say, we want this, and it would be done. But now it's like you're looking at the auteur kind of director. Roman Polanski, you've probably heard of. If you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, probably heard of him. There's murder stuff associated with him, I believe. It's kind of interesting. But this is widely considered one of the greatest screenplays. And that's kind of what I want you to know. It's just a good screenplay. Oh, and I do feel like the visuals were very, very important in this. I feel like the dialogue, the writing was very strong, but it was hard to picture sometimes. And I feel like this is something that you just have to watch with the movie. And the biggest visual to me that I remember is the two traumatic ones of his nose being cut open and then him hitting that woman and the end. That was very powerful. Okay, Fargo, which we just did. You can see it's got that homey feel. I love the Coen brothers. The Coen brothers are quirky. We love some quirky. A homespun murder story. You can just see them quirky by that poster that they did. So Fargo, and please forgive my speaking. I'm not. Today is a morning, you know. Fargo, filmed in the United States during 1995. It premiered in 1996 Cannes Film Festival. That's huge. That's in France, where Joel Cohen won the festival's blah 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 Best Director award, and the film was nominated for blah 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 blah. I can't speak French. The film was both a commercial and critical success, earning particular acclaim for the Coen's direction and script and the performances of McDormand, Macy, and Buscemi. Fargo received seven Oscar nominations at the 69th Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, and Best Actress for McDormand, and Best Original Screenplay for the Coens. Now, the Coen brothers, it's really interesting. When they were being interviewed about this film, they said, well, what makes you, like, someone interviewing them said, what makes you write such interesting, diverse films with such diverse characters, like so weird and different? And they said, they're like, just for us, we like to do something different, each film different than the one we did before, so we don't get bored. And I thought that was really cool. So they're brothers, born in the 50s. Seems like to be a pattern. So it's got a bunch of styles, the film does. It's got parody or just subvert expectations. Raising Arizona, all of these, I've seen all of these. These are incredible films. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, you might know of. Actually, I haven't seen this one. That's the only one I haven't seen. I haven't finished this one, but they're good. They're really quirky. They often examine the culture of the American South and the American West in both modern and historical context. So, in my mind, Texas is both westy and southy, though not quite one or the other. So maybe good for y'all to know about them. They write and work together. They did The Lady Killers in 2004, which I will say is based off an older movie that's better. Um, they have an Alias. Um, this got a lot of and they got a best adapted screenplay for No Country for Old Men. This is just they're just really good and they're really quirky and weird. Now today we're gonna do Lady Bird. I love this movie. Um, just really quickly, it's by Greta Gerwig. She is a coming of age comedy. Well, this is a coming of age comedy drama film, and this is her solo directing debut. It talks kind of about her, like inspired by her life, and these are some other things she's in. Frances Ha, which I've seen some of, Little Women, Lady Bird, and White Noise. So Lady Bird premiered here, and it was theatrically released in the United States in 2017 by A24. It received widespread critical acclaim, with reviewers praising Gerwig's screenplay and direction. It was considered by many critics as one of the best 2017 films and best films of the 2010s. I agree. You can see how it got a lot of awards and recognition. And it's interesting when we read the script to see how much visually, like even just the red hair and this vibe right here comes through in the script. So anyway, that is the end of my little presentation. Hopefully it was recording. And yeah, oh goodness, thank you, it was recording. So yeah, just like do your own research on these two. I just did the very bare minimum. Honestly, because I really am just wanting us to spend more time just absorbing the scripts, but I do think it's important to know a little bit about the screenwriters, my brain. So yeah, I'm going to go teach my other class now. But bye.